My dear Wormwood, through this girl, and her disgusting family, the patient is now getting to know more Christians every day, and very intelligent Christians too. For a long time, it will be quite impossible to remove spirituality from his life. Very well then, we must corrupt it. No doubt, you have often practiced transforming yourself into an angel of light, as a parade ground exercise. Now is the time to do it in the face of the enemy. The world, and the flesh, have failed us, a third power remains. And success of this third kind is the most glorious of all. A spoiled saint, a Pharisee, an inquisitor, or a magician, makes better sport in hell than a mere common tyrant or debauchery. Looking around your patient's new friends, I find that the best point of attack would be the borderline between theology and politics. Several of his friends are very much alive to the social implications of their religion. That, in itself, is a bad thing, but good can be made of it. You will find that a good many Christian political writers think that Christianity began going wrong, and departing from the doctrine of its founder, at a very early stage. Now this idea must be used by us, to encourage once again the concept of historical Jesus to be found by clearing away later accretions and perversions, and then to be contrasted with the whole Christian tradition. In the last generation, we promoted the construction of such a historical Jesus, on liberal and humanitarian lines. We are now putting forward a new historical Jesus, on Marxism, catastrophic, and revolutionary lines. The advantage of these constructions, which we intend to change every 30 years or so, are manifold. In the first place, they all tend to direct man's devotion to something which does not exist, for each historical Jesus is unhistorical. The documents say what they say, and cannot be added to each new historical Jesus, therefore has to be got out of them by suppression at one point and exaggeration at another, and by that sort of guessing. Brilliant is the adjective we teach humans to apply to it, on which no one would risk 10 shillings in ordinary life, but which is enough to produce a crop of new Napoleons, new Shakespeares, and new Shifts, in every publisher's autumn list. In the second place, all such constructions place the importance of their historical Jesus in some peculiar theory he is supposed to have promulgated. He has to be a great man in the modern sense of the word, one standing at the terminus, some centrifugal and unbalanced line of thought, a crank vending a panacea. We thus distract man's mind from who he is, and what he did. We first make him solely a teacher, and then conceal the very substantial agreement between his teachings and those of all other great moral teachers. For humans must not be allowed to notice that all great moralists are sent by the enemy, not to inform man, but to remind them, to restate the primeval moral platitudes against our continual concealment of them. We make the sophists, he rises up, a Socrates to answer them. Our third aim is by these constructions to destroy the devotional life. For the real presence of the enemy, otherwise experienced by men in prayer and sacrament, we substitute a merely probable, remote, shadowy, and uncouth figure, one who spoke a strange language, and died a long time ago. Such an object cannot in fact be worshipped. Instead of the Creator adorned by its creature, you soon have merely a leader, accompanied by a partisan, and finally a distinguished character, approved by judicial historians. And fourthly, besides being unhistorical in the Jesus it depicts, the religion of this kind is false to history in another sense. No nation, and a few individuals, are really brought into the enemy's camp by the historical study of the biography of Jesus, simply as a biography. Indeed, materials for a full biography have been withheld from men. The earliest converts were converted by a single historical fact, the resurrection, and a single theologic doctrine, the redemption, operating on a sense of sin which they already had, and sin, not against some new fancy dress law produced as a novel by a great man, but against the old platitudinous, universal moral laws which they have been taught by their nurses and mothers. The Gospels come later and were written not to make Christians but to edify Christians already made. The historical Jesus then, however dangerous he may seem to be to us at some particular point, is always to be encouraged. About the general connection between Christianity and politics, our position is more delicate. Certainly we do not want men to allow their Christianity to flow over into their political life, for the establishment of anything like a really just society would be a major disaster. On the other hand, we do want, and want very much, to make men treat Christianity as a means, preferably, of course as a means to their own advanced, but failing that, as a means to anything, even social justice. The thing to do, is to get a man at first to value social justice, as a thing which the enemy demands, and then, work him onto the stage, at which he values Christianity, because it may produce social justice. For the enemy will not be used as a convenience. Men or nations who think they can revive the faith, in order to make a good society, might just as well think they can use the stairs of heaven as a shortcut to the nearest chemist shop. Fortunately, it is quite easy to coax humans around this little corner. Only today, I found a passage in a Christian writer, where he recommends his own version of Christianity, on the grounds that only such a faith could outlast the death of old cultures, and the birth of new civilizations. You see the little rift? Believe this, not cause it's true, but for some other reason, that's the game. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape.